Alright, shout out, what are some ways that you could solve anything to the power of 2? Square root. That would have been the easiest one. Raise your hand if you did that. What else? Factoring, yes. Raise your hand if you did that. Someone said quadratic formula. Raise your hand if you did the quadratic formula. Gives you the same answers. Anyone graph it? And last one, completing the square. So you could have done any of those methods to solve it, but this one was the easiest one. So if I add 1 to both sides, I get x squared equals 1. To get rid of the power of 2, I'm going to what? Square root x equals, did you remember, plus or minus? Square root of 1 is 1. So our answer is x equals positive 1 and negative 1. Raise your hand if you got that. Remember, the reason why it's both positive and negative, if you actually check your answer, meaning put it back in. Positive 1 squared minus 1. Does that equal 0? That is 1 minus 1. So that becomes 0 equals 0, and that is true. You can also do that for negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay. On this side, let's do the same thing. We're going to use the square root method. Again, you can use any of these methods, and they would do the same. So if I subtract 1, I get x squared equals negative 1. I take the square root. I have x equals plus or minus. The square root of negative 1 is some of you guys recognize. Square root of negative 1 is I. So our answer is x equals plus or minus I. Raise your hand if you got that. Let's make sure we have in your notes, that is a big idea. That is the I equals the square root of negative 1. Put that in blue. That's information you needed right there. What does that mean? So this is algebraically. If you looked at it graphically, this transformation means what, class? That's correct. It's going to go down from the parent function 1 unit. And we've talked about before how basically this crosses the x-axis twice. These are called 2 real solutions. Plus and minus 1 are real solutions. What would this do to the graph, class? That one goes up 1. Here. So class, does it cross the x-axis? No. It's not even on here, so we would say no reals. It's actually a completely different graph. Okay.